I want to remind our viewers of the proximity of that conversation that we are reporting on tonight, that the Washington Post is saying Donald Trump told Russians that he was not concerned with Russian interference in the elections, and the firing of James Comey just before that, and the references that Donald Trump is alleged to have made to that firing. Put this in context for us in terms of the events that set off, really, the investigation.
Well, Ali, it's also reported in this same report that this was just after the meeting with the Russians was just after the president had been briefed by the intelligence community confirming that Russia interfered on the president's behalf with the election. So when you put that together with the firing of Comey and now his language with the Russians, there's very little other way to interpret this but a green light for the Russians and essentially a forgiveness. As is reported in this article, that 3 former officials actually interpret this as forgiveness of the Russian interference and a green light for possible future interference. You know, many of us have been wondering ever since the inception of the special counsel inquiry what it was that the Russians might have on the president. How could they have compromised him? But, Ali, it's becoming clear tonight that he actually compromised himself, that what they have on him is his very own conversations with them where he tells them, I'm okay with this. I'm not concerned about this interference. And he does it knowingly. And then when you combine that with the secreting of this in ultra-secret databases where people who need the readout to do their jobs can't even get access to it, that is the essence of a cover-up.
Mika, what's your sense of what this new information, to the point that Frank Figliuzzi just made, that there's this movement of transcripts and information about Donald Trump's conversations with world leaders or whomever it might be into the super secret server that you have to have code word access. You have to know the code in order to get access to it. What's the relationship between this new revelation in the Washington Post and the impeachment inquiry that's now underway?
Yeah, what this shows is that this is a pattern of covering up things that are embarrassing to the president, conversations that he has with foreign leaders. It's problematic, as Frank says, that the foreign leaders know what is said. Foreign governments can react to that, but American policymakers don't know, and they can't advise on what America should be doing in response to this. But what it is not so much about the substance of these allegations themselves, which were covered in the Mueller report. It shows that the people around the president understood that what he was doing was wrong, and they didn't want it going out.
Barbara McQuade, to Mika's point about a pattern of behavior from a legal perspective, or at least from a procedural perspective, with the House pursuing this impeachment inquiry, does this become relevant to that inquiry?
I think it does. You know, this idea of first, you know, there's the substantive issue and then there's the procedural issue. The procedural issue is this idea of secreting the documents in a place where only a select few can find them. You know, when prosecutors find that kind of behavior, they often think of it as what's known as consciousness of guilt. That is, I don't want people to see this because I know it will reveal something that is very damaging. And I think not just President Trump, but the people who are participating in this could themselves have some very significant legal exposure here if they're obstructing any sort of investigation or failing to comply with the Presidential Records Act. So the process here is very troubling. And then with regard to the pattern and the substance, absolutely. You know, we all knew, based on the Mueller report, all the things that had come before that caused people to question whether President Trump was conspiring with Russia to interfere with the election. But now to then give the green light afterwards, as Frank said, suggests a pattern of behavior that, even if it is not criminal, does suggest an abuse of power and undermining of the democratic process that I think could arise to the level of an impeachable offense.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.